bars in a raid. Man, I go hard like Santan.
Yes. Good evening, one and all. Good evening. It's your boy SV Carbaholic back on hosting duty. Yes, I have returned. We are back with a weekly edition of TG Touchline Gunners back in full effect. Guys, yes, the season is done. Thank God. Thank God. Let me not lie to you. I've had enough. I've been over this season for a long time. Been done with it. Been just it's felt at times like it's been a real drag, a real slog. But I'm hopeful now, whenever a new season starts, I've got optimism, new excitement, but that will also be hinged and tempered by what we decide to do in the transfer market over the next few months. And we will be here. I know sometimes we be slacking with the Patreon stuff, but you know what it's like when summer season's here. We're on job with the Patreon, we're on job with the scouting pieces, we're on job with the individual reviews of players. So if you like that sort of stuff, if if you're a Patreon member, tell a friend to tell a friend, you've been here before, you know what it looks like. Word to Dr. Mike. So you've been around, you've seen it. So yes, we will be here live in full effect this summer, dissecting all of the good stuff, the links, topics of discussion, player departures, players we're excited to see. So yeah, if you like all that good stuff, you feel free to sign up to our Patreon for as little as £3 a month, and you get those good nuggets there. And we are trying to be as consistent as possible for you guys now going forward. Tonight we are going to have a little discuss. Well, I say a little, but we're going to do like a season awards pod. So I have a list of like 5-6 bullet points about potential players that might fit into a relevant category, and we will discuss it. And to do it, we do have Jay coming further down the line, but with me right now is my good brother Shabs. How are you doing, sir?
Well, when life gives you Coca-Cola, you draw for the spiced rum, innit? That's how I'm doing, bro.
Yeah, I hit, bro. Sometimes, yeah, life really be lifing, bro. These grey hairs really be showing up differently, bro. In more ways than one, bro. I'm trying, I've been trying to maintain this fine boy no pimple for as long as possible, but bruh, sometimes when those bills come cashing in, we're in big trouble, bro.
Keep fighting the good fight, brother.
There's bro, I'm being beaten up. If it's not by the tax man and HMRC, it's my children. So one way or another, I am in a headlock. I've not slept well in weeks, bro. In weeks. So yeah, bro, pray for me, innit? Pray for me. But listeners, enough of my sob story. I know you don't want to hear that trash, you don't want to hear that nonsense. Let's get into some good stuff. So we have Shabs. I've got a list of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories that we're going to look at this evening, and we're going to talk through. And some, whilst when we name certain players, it might stir up some debate, it might stir up some conversation. So we'll see which way it takes us. It's a very light-hearted conversation this evening, and we'll see where we end up. So first category, let's start, Shabs. Your player of the season and why?
Oh, it's a tough one, but I'm gonna go. I have to go Declan Rice. I just think he didn't start the season that well. If we can cast our minds back, there were worries about his performance in terms of him looking leggy and not as energized. And then he had the ridiculous sending off that, the only other time we saw sending off as ridiculous this season involved Arsenal players. So yeah, and then he kind of missed out. And then there were a couple of little niggles and little knocks where he wasn't quite being used full 90s or whatnot. And I think people started to get onto him, rightly or wrongly, people started to get onto him. I remember saying you have to account for the fact that Rice has never played as much football in his career. I remember the defense of him actually, and I wasn't too happy with his performances, but I remember the defense of him saying he virtually went off the back of that season with West Ham, won the Conference League, didn't really have a pre-season. I think there was some Nations League in that season, then done the signing for Arsenal, had a full season for Arsenal, And then it was a heavy season for Arsenal as well. Then European tournaments in the summer. So again, had a really shortened preseason and then kind of rushed back to be available for the start of the season. So when you consider it, he's played like almost 2 seasons back to back without any really meaningful rest. So of course he was going to look leggy. But I think he found himself. He put some of the early season lag behind him, and he's just been like a immense performer. And us, you know, I think we've been lacking in quality in midfield in particular this season. I think by and large the midfield performances this season have been underwhelming. But with Rice, you just know in terms of what he gives you, he's just going to leave it all on the pitch, and he'd done so many times. There were so many times where he just made it happen. And outputs as well. This is a player who's steadily improving on his outputs in terms of his goal contributions, in terms of his assists. He's had so many critics, so many criticisms about not being worth £100 million, not being worth his value, having major limitations to his game, all types of every type of allegation they wanted to throw at Declan Rice, they've thrown at him. If not this season, then the season before. And this season for me is really where he just cemented himself as, you know, a staple of that midfield. And it's capped by his performances in the Champions League on the biggest stage against Real Madrid. And people talk about the 2-3. What gets on my nerves is that people reduce his performances to just the 2 free kicks, as if the 2 free kicks weren't spectacular enough. But to do that is simplistic, and is probably the laziest form of analysis you can have, by looking at kind of like an output or event-based analysis, really, when actually when you watch the level and quality of his performances in those 2 legs, for me, they really capped and defined what his performance level, what his mentality is like, and what he means to us over the course of this season, what he means to this midfield. And then finally, just his leadership, his captaincy. You know, I've been running a little joke for a long time now behind the scenes saying, like, you know, in the dressing room, I think everyone knows, like, Odegaard symbolically, but I think everyone at the club knows, like, him. I feel like Rice and Gab are really the captains. They're like really the 2 leaders that when you watch the game, you say, yeah, boom, it's almost like in terms of their mentality, Gabriel represents a throwback to Tony Adams, and Rice represents a throwback to Patrick Vieira in terms of mentality. And I think, yeah, Rice again, he just personified that. And even at the back end of this season and in the last couple of weeks, when we have looked leggy and had absolutely nothing going for us, it's been Rice who's popped up with moments. It's been Rice who's popped up with a decisive goal. It's been him who has popped up with an assist, or he's made something happen. And he's really showing himself to be this all-round midfielder that we actually need. So, yeah, man, it's him clearly for me.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong contender. I think the point you made about he has, I think in both seasons actually, well, maybe not in his first season, but he does. I think the type of player he is, like, when he has a break, he takes a while to get going. Like he's an athlete, but he's like, you know, like a traction engine. He builds up a head of steam over time. Like he's not someone who you just put in, plug and play. Like his performances gradually, and it was the same last season as well. They tend to improve as the season goes on. Like almost as if, I think we said when he first joined, he didn't look fully fit, and he does take a while to get into like his running. I think it's a strong contender. I think you're right. You know, it's hard to look past some of those performances in the big games. I think it was 9 goals, 10 assists, something like that this season, which is a very good return. In his first, you could say, proper full season as an 8. You know, last season it was more half and half shared between the 6 and an 8, whereas this one is pretty much exclusively been an 8. And those are the sort of numbers we need if you're going to be playing that range before. I think obviously you mentioned the Real Madrid free kicks, right? Like I think a lot of people were astonished, but you know, in the TG chat, right, we always talk about why Rice isn't always on set pieces. You know, we saw how Rice delivers corners, and we were like, no, the tech on this guy, bro. Like he should be taking free kicks, and obviously they were both astounding, both astonishing free kicks. But with someone with his level of shooting technique, and we've seen it as the season has gone on, right? So I think he scored against. There was a really good one against Palace, even the one against Newcastle the other week. There's been quite a few, and he seems to be developing that knack now. I'm still, preference wise, it's not my preference, but I can see the value of him there, especially in big games. But if he's going to be there in little games, well, I say little, but games where we're going to have like 80-90% possession, he's going to need to show the value add closer to the box as well. So if that's how he's going to contribute, then great for me. I do agree with the point you made about people harping on about reducing his performances against Real Madrid to just the free kicks, because I think his performance arguably in the second leg was better than the first leg, where he just scored, he scored the 2 goals. But the second leg, I thought he was monstrous. He battered every single one of Madrid's midfielders. So I thought it was a great performance from him. So I'm not gonna disagree too tough. Just for debate, I will. So I'm torn between potentially 3, because I think prior to his season-ending injury, I think Gabriel was a big shout for player of the season. Consistency throughout, our leader. I think Timber is a big shout. I might include him in another category. Raya is another big shout, because God knows what would have happened had we had to see Neto for the whole season. We saw him once in that Girona game, and that was that was one too many games for Neto to play for me this season. So I think I will go with Gabriel, just as a bone of contention. I think he is right up there now. He's solidified himself, for a long time. There's always debate about who's the better centre back between him and Saliba, and I don't really like comparing. For me, they're 2 world-class centre backs. They both probably cover where each other might not be as strong, but their chemistry overall is fantastic. He is, for me, the leader. When people talk about Arsenal set pieces like Nicolas Jova, I'm sorry, there is Gabriel, bro. Gabriel is really what makes our set pieces elite, both offensively and defensively. I think we've seen, as the season's gone on, especially with him being out, we've conceded quite a few from set pieces. It's become a bit of an Achilles heel for us as time's gone on. So I think I will go with Gabriel for my player of the season, just to be different. I can understand the reasonings that people will have for both, but I think I will stick with Gabriel in this instance. I think that's a good one to go for. Any comments on Gabriel, or you good?
No, I respect it. I'm completely with you. I think the 2, not even the 3 that you named are all genuine contenders. For me, there's even a 4th one, but like I said, I'm going to save that because I think it will come up and reveal itself in another category. I don't know the categories you're going in, but I feel like some of these others will. But for me, Gab, absolutely. I think it's a shame that he had a season-ending injury, because I do think our season looks different. Not the entirety of our season. The course we were on at the point he got injured is the course that we were on. However, we coped with him against without him against Real Madrid. We coped without PSG to some extent. Kivior wasn't that bad, but I do think Gab makes a difference, both in terms of his on-field ability, but also just that mentality. You think about the PSG game and conceding after 4 minutes, and heads drop, mentalities drop, and I just don't think he is on that pitch and allows the mood of the entire team to drop. I think it was Rice doing the pick-me-ups, and this ultimately, for me, Rice wins the award, in my view. But I think having Rice and Gab both available, both fit in a situation like that, I'd argue as to whether we even go a goal down that early with him on the pitch anyway. And then the response and the reaction, I think we rise it, and then you said set piece FC as well. The odds of him rising to the occasion, big moment, big game player, getting a header, set piece, getting a goal for us or whatnot. And you see how much we tested the goalkeeper. He needed some magic, and I don't disagree that he is a player who's capable of doing that. So yeah, I'm not mad at your Gab shouts at all. I think I would have had, if it weren't Rice for me, it would have been him. So either or works.
No,
and we could even put that one out to the streets and let the poll, let the listeners decide as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. What I might do then tomorrow as well, I might just put it on the TG account. Ask when we go through these categories, we'll ask the listeners as well, ask the readers and see what they say. So open it up for debate. Okay, next category. Most underrated player this season.
Underrated. You might have to run first, because I'm not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, and I say, because it might not even be underrated because people will rate what he's done this season, but I'm gonna say underrated because if he had not been there, I do not know what would have happened. So I will go with Yuri and Timber because I think the level of performance he's churned in week in, week out, off the back of an ACL, bearing in mind Ben White had knee surgery and Ben White had to miss 4 months and he's not been, his same self since he's been back. I think that has been a top level of performance week in, week out. He's stayed fit. He's contributed to a high level. He has pretty much locked off every single winger in world football that he has faced. When you think of Vinny, I don't think Vara had great joy over him over the two legs. Who else has he played? The City wingers was it Doku when we played Chelsea wingers, Neto. Nobody has had any joy from Yuri and Timber this season. I really feel like he is a top lockdown defender. Right back, left back. You can see what he's like when he plays. Unbeatable. He's a real warrior. I think he's a top player. Honestly, really shores up the defense, and I just think he's been a great player to have for us this season. He's really shown. I think off the back of what happened, last season where he did his ACL in his first game. It's a hard thing to come back from, but I think he really showed up trumps this season. Another one, especially in the big games for me, especially. Can't speak highly of his praises enough. So yeah, I think I will go with Yuri and Timber there. And obviously he's had ankle surgery, which I believe is obviously it's ended the season like a couple of games before the end. So hopefully he gets a good rest over the summer. And is back ready for pre-season, and we can actually have a period where him and White are both fit and they're rotating accordingly, because I really feel like that's what we needed. We've had periods where Ben White's had to play the whole time, no rotation. Now Timber's had to play the whole time, no rotation. I won't mention a certain individual because certain people will tell me I'm doing agenda, but I think they have really carried the baton. Obviously, I'm speaking specifically with Timber here this season, when we've not really had many other rotation periods. I think back to last season when White had to play through injury because nobody wanted to see Cedric. So I have to give man props where I'm giving props. So yeah, I will go with Yuri and Timber as underrated of player of the season.
Yeah, and you know what? It's hard because I don't disagree with you at all, but I think he's the most appropriate recipient of this award. When you run through the squad, it's hard to think about who else is actually underrated. I don't feel very many of the players were underrated. I don't necessarily feel that Timber was underrated. I just feel that because of the injury setback last season, which was his debut season, it's hard to kind of gauge how he would have reacted, how he would have responded. And I think he exceeded all expectations. I think people might have been a bit more measured in terms of how he would return from a significant injury so young, and then playing in a new league as well. So the fact that he's coped, and like you said, nobody got any change from Timber all season, it speaks volumes of him, and I think he's exceeded our expectations. Even the most avid pro-social Timber fans, I think he would have exceeded their expectations as well for what he done and how he carried on despite the injuries, despite the shortness. So yeah, but it's him, but it's also hard to run through the rest of the squad and consider who else is underrated.
So you don't have a shout for you. You would go with
It's Timber. It's Timber
Timber,
for
yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a strong shout. Okay, so this should be one then. I think there's an obvious one here. There might be potentially more. So category number 3, a player who has surprised you.
Oh, surprised me. I don't want to name him yet. I don't want to name him yet.
You might name him. Name him.
Maybe
Oh,
this ain't.
actually, yeah. No,
Maybe
name him.
maybe
Name
this ain't the category. I don't know. What other categories
I'm
do
not
you
telling
have?
you. So yeah, it's this makes it more interesting. I'm not going to reveal.
A player who surprised me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do an unassuming one, and I'm gonna say Kivio.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Kivio because I think we all thought Kivio was cheeks. To be honest with you, and again, like I'm not here to make any kind of sweeping statements but neither am I here to make generalizations. I'm not here to defend him. I'm not here to attack him. I'm just saying the large majority thought this guy was cheeks. And I've always erred on the side of caution with him a little bit because I think ultimately his performances have underwhelmed. However, I am always a little bit sympathetic to players who get thrown into the mix at the deep end with very little run time, very little build-up time. It's just you get dropped in and then you come out. You play 60 minutes today because someone's come off after 30 minutes and then you don't play again for like 4 or 5 weeks. And I don't think it's realistic for a lot of these players. I think a lot of these players need rhythm. When Gab got injured, I felt our season was cooked. Defensively, I thought that defensively this is cooked. I was worried about not worried. I can't say I'm worried. And at the time as well, that's not what I was voicing. But I was interested and curious to see how our season would go. And I think Kivior in some of our biggest fixtures this season, from the moment he did get a run in the side, I think he done the best he could. So he surprised me in that regard because I thought it would be worse. So yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise. If I may throw in a negative, a player.
Yeah. I mean, I said surprised you. It could have been surprised you negatively.
Another surprise, man, has been Sterling.
Boy,
let's have it right. I was not advocating. I never advocated for us to sign Sterling, but I'm a realist. So when it came to the fact that Sterling was who we were going to get, I said, okay. I didn't think that he was cooked the way that he looked cooked athletically. I didn't think it was the case. Obviously, there's been a decline. We can't. I never declined that. I never ignored or dismissed at any stage that there had been a decline. But I didn't think that it was going to be a struggle. And then he's another one who, at the start of the season, he was kind of in and out, had injuries, played a game, then got injured, then wasn't really used, then injured again, then was out of the team for a little while, and then he kind of was thrown back in. And I'm very harsh, a critic on Arteta, and I think this guy just serially underuses players until he really needs them. And that was the case for a large part of the beginning of the season with Sterling. But the more exposure Sterling got, the more I kind of saw, Arteta might be right on this one. I might have to chill. So he just didn't look. Sterling amazing player, and I hate talking bad about Sterling, man. Like the media have persecuted him enough, and I rate the guy, I rate everything that he stands for. You know, this is not about that. But yeah, I just think his performances have massively, massively underwhelmed, and that surprised me because I thought the performance level, generally speaking, from him would be better.
Yeah. That was going to be my surprise, but in a disappointing way, because I was pretty much against it. More because when I look at a lot of the guys who start their career young in the Premier League. So you look at your Fabregases, your Rooneys, like these guys are elite from the jump at 16, 17. But by the time these guys reach like 29, 30, they're pretty much washed. And that's not but you can't hold that against them. They've had 12, 13 years at the top level producing high top performances. It's just very rare where guys continue that after being like a wonder kid. It's unlikely that they're going to wonder kid into their 30s. Do you know what I mean? So that was kind of what I looked at, and I thought, and that's why I was against it initially. But to that extent, I still didn't expect it to be as bad as it was with Sterling. He didn't score a single league goal for us like that, which is bad, to the point where we were avidly avoiding using him at the end. And to your point, considering how much of a great career he's had, well over 100 goals in the Premier League, numerous titles won. But yeah, he looked proper cooked food, man. And I'm glad that these wages aren't going to be an issue for us next season. He's got to go back to Chelsea, and they got to deal with that. So yeah, it was disappointing from him, surprising but disappointing in a sort of negative way, man. So, but listen, he's had a great career. If I was him, I'd just try and cash out money wise now and go and MLS Saudi, collect the quick bag for a couple seasons, then retire, bro. You've done your job, bro. You've done your job. Players would kill to have the career you've had, so I'm not going to beat him up for it. Not going to beat him up for it at all. And the reason I went with the surprise for him is because the next category, I think there is an obvious talking point, and it's an obvious person to choose, and that is a player who has disappointed you the most this season. So I'll let you go. I think there's an obvious one, but I'll see what you say. So yeah,
I think there's a couple, bro. Like there's a couple, man. Like
okay. You said there's a couple, so let me pick my obvious one then, and then
yeah,
you can come. So my obvious one is going to be the captain, Martin Odegaard. Like I think
of
I think
course,
this has been a stinker of a season from him.
of
I think
course.
it's been a stinker of a season just because the last two were very, very good. They were top seasons that he produced. I didn't really see where this was coming from. I guess some would argue he always plays consistently. He does bear the brunt of leading the press, the creative burden, has to score goals. And so a dip in form was always going to happen, I guess, at some stage. But Shabs, there's a dip in form and there's pretty much stinking out the whole season, which is pretty much what he's done. It's been bad, and obviously we know he had that ankle injury. I think a lot of us were a bit annoyed back in August, if you remember. He took a knock against Brighton and he didn't look the same. And then we were like, don't go to internationals. Then he goes to internationals knowing he's carrying something. Then he gets clattered and then he's out, right? Till like November. And I just don't think he ever recovered from that, if I'm to be totally honest with you. So, I gave him a bit of leeway initially. I'm like, he's coming back from an injury, give him a bit of grace. But bro, it just carried on, bro. The Stinkfest really just carried on for the rest of the season, and I think why it stands out more is that we've spoken about we're a team that's not overly creative, or how we tend to create is via cutbacks, crosses, set pieces. So where we look for the ingenuity is for Erdegaard and Saka to provide it for us. And while Saka was out, Erdegaard really didn't show that much. So he didn't show anything. Let me keep it a buck. So yeah, it was very disappointing from him. Like I said, loss of form can happen, but loss of form for like 5-6 months is very different. So I guess what's probably in his favor is that he has a lot of credit in the bank based on what he's produced previously. But my guy, I don't have time for this nonsense next season. You need to rise it expeditiously. Bearing in mind, like you said, you're the captain, so there's a greater weight of expectation on your shoulders. you got to produce, lead by example. And I get we do ask a lot of him. We definitely do ask a lot of Martin Odegaard. But to the point, with the quote, with great pressure comes great responsibility. So yeah, man, my guy, rising next season.
Yeah, and I just think to chuck Gabriel Jesus into the mix for different reasons, but it's that brother is cooked, man. That brother is so cooked physically. He's finished, man, and
100%.
I think it's a shame because he started at Arsenal on fire. And I just think like we have had so many issues for some reason for a long time now. We just haven't got it right in the final third of the pitch, and we haven't got the correct combinations. So when we had pacey wingers, we just didn't have the right guys to complement them up front. We had killer finishers, but we didn't have sufficient creators. We had creators in abundance, but we didn't have killer strikers. So it's just been years and years and years and years of effing around, man. Like, we had Odegaard, and then we kind of done bullshit with Ozil and just kind of eased him out of the squad. And Odegaard was having no creation. We had Pepe and Willian, and we had to endure them guys out wide. It's been bullshit. So Jesus started so well in terms of his Arsenal career, and it's just gone from one disappointment to the next. And then the way he was training in the summer was like a madman. I don't know that guy's name. I don't know that guy. I just see the black guy on social media, and he does the ice bar face wash and all that shit. This one, and you see him running, and the memes of him running, racing the car, and now DJ Khaled's racing the car alongside it. I don't know that guy's name, but the way that guy trains, Jesus was training like him in the summer. Yeah. So you think, yeah, all right, cool. Maybe this guy's gonna get it back in blood. Bam, it gets him back. It gets him back, man. And it was just so nasty. So that was disappointing. That's been disappointing. And I think all in all, we just are gonna have to write that signing off as a disappointment. I was holding on to small possibility that we may get something. He may be serviceable for us, but yeah, no, it's over. You've got to throw the doves up for that one. And then the other disappointment,
release Swans for Gabriel Jesus, man. Because just on that, I think he's had a serious knee injury every season he's been here.
Yeah,
you can't continuously come back from that. And like I said, when he first joined, this guy was legit changing our lives. But the reality is, you just can't. We have to move on. We have to move on. He's not.
Have to move on.
And obviously, I know it's not his fault. He doesn't want to get injured, but we can't rely on him. And he's a high wage earner. He's on like 265k per week.
$1 million a month, man.
$1
million a month.
Probably only Havertz and Odegaard that earn more than him. So we have to. I've got a sneaky feeling like we're just gonna have to. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like we paid 45 mil. He's going. This is season 4, right? That we're going to be going into. So
this is his third season, I think.
So just completed third season. Yeah. So that's what I said. Knee injury every season. So 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. So he's going into season 4. So I mean, he's got two. Did he sign a 5 years? So I think he's got maybe 2 years left. But I think we might have to try and. I can see like a loan to Brazil in January or something when he's fit again.
That's all I could see, man. Him and Memphis Depay are going to be doing 1-2s, bro.
Yeah,
that's what I could see.
Real city of God for Corinthians, isn't it, bro?
Yeah. That's what I could see. So him, and then the other one, like I said, there's so many, but the other one for me is is his pal Martinelli. Martinelli, man. Martinelli for me, this was a season for Martinelli to show us either that his last season was an outlier and that he is more of the 15 goal a season guy, or that the 15 goal a season was an outlier and that he's more of a this season guy and the season before. the 15-goal season guy. And that's exactly what he showed us, man. And again, he had a bit of disruption early season and some injuries and whatnot kept him out. But his performance level just isn't the level. It's just not the level, man. Like, and I really like him. I hate that this is the case for him. You know, I think there are good things about him. I also don't feel that we play to his strengths. But what I can't ignore, and that I don't hold against him. If we're not releasing him on the break, we're not finding him quick enough or whatnot, that is a systems issue. It's the manager's job, it's the coach's job to find solutions for the players that you have on the pitch. And it's funny because I was thinking about Conte, serial winner Conte. And Conte is a coach who profiles players fantastically. Yeah, he profiles his players really well. He knows exactly what attributes his players have, what he wants, and he gets maximum use out of them, even if they're not attractive, you know, on the eye, even if the players are not easy on the eye. And Arteta is a player who is in that mold, kind of, in terms of function over form for his players, for his style and choice of players. But sometimes his players are not easy on the eye. But it's Arteta's job to find solutions. It's his job to find solutions, and he hasn't found solutions for Martinelli. So I am sympathetic in that regard. But what I can't ignore with Martinelli is season 5 or season 6 in the Premier League. Still running with his head down. Still kicking the ball off the pitch in crucial moments, in crucial attacks. And then sometimes, you know, he's putting fantastic clip crosses to the back post. The players are getting on the end of them or not. Sometimes he's picking players out fantastically, but other times he's tripping over his own feet and skying it, you know, and just not being able to shoot and find the target. And you think, what has happened with this guy? So I think at this point, in terms of his outputs, but in terms of his performances, most importantly, it's safer to say that he's closer to the level of this season or the season before the one before last. That he's closer to that level. That mid-season, that middle season, that 15-goal season is an outlier. And yeah, it's disappointing, man. It's disappointing because I thought he would rise it. I did.
Yeah, see, I think for me it'd be disappointing if I expected more. I'd be rather I didn't expect more. Like I'm just not like I want him to do well, but when I look at Martinelli's skill set, for me, it's not akin to be a touchline winger at Arsenal. So I do have sympathy for him there because he doesn't have the skill set to cook man 1v1. He's not a creator. He's an inside forward. He wants to run in between the centre back and the full back. So it's not a surprise. I remember when he first came and we used him as a 9. I really like that use of him personally. Or we have to use him as a Walcott. I've always said where he's not involved in build up much, but we try and maybe build up one side and then get him running in behind the other side. That's what he is. But I think with the way we play and the way we're ultra reliant on the wide areas to break open the game for Arsenal, the player has to be a creator like Saka. He has to. He has to be someone who can dribble. He has to be someone who can combine quick 1-2s. He has to be someone who can conjure something out of nothing. So he doesn't have the skill set for that, unfortunately. And I'm a bit sympathetic because I think Arteta has square pegged a round hole here. Tried to do something to Martinelli that he just can't do. I would still keep him as a squad player. I know, to be fair, you made a good point about while his wages are high and his stock's high, this would be a good time to sell and reinvest. And, you know, in an ideal world, you can maybe do that with him and Trossard, but we know we're not going to do both of that. And it also looks like they're planning to give Trossard a new contract. So, yeah, disappointing. I totally understand the disappointing angle there for me, but I think the most important thing is he's had his time, he's had his chances. We need a new left winger now. So whatever happens with him there, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing him at centre forward a bit more again. You know, I remember the game at Anfield, played a few weeks back, second leg, and he was up front, and I really liked. And maybe it was game state dependent. You know, Liverpool do leave spaces to attack behind, but No, I much prefer that. I know what Martinelli's strengths are, so you have to play to those strengths. Otherwise, you're just not going to get the best of him. And him as a touchline winger, he doesn't have the skill set for it. So, yeah, we'll take that one on board. Most improved player. I think there's a clear one here, but I'll let you go first.
Most improved player. I mean, for me, like, and this is breakthrough player and young player of the season as well, and just everything. Starboy 2.0 and Starboy 3.0 and Starboy kind of knocked Ethan off the rung a little bit, and you know, I'm on that podium, but it's Miles Lewis Skelly, man, without a shadow of a doubt. Miles Lewis Skelly for me has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. His breakthrough has been amazing, and Miles Lewis Skelly is not a left back, which makes it all the more remarkable. Now, I know people can say, well, you can't really count youth football, blah, 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 blah. You absolutely can. You know, I know, like, to compare other left backs, especially other Arsenal left backs, Ashley Cole in the youth setup was a striker and then eventually got moved back. That's different, man. That's different. That is a different scenario. But we're talking about Miles Lewis Skelly has been used primarily as a midfielder at every level, at every stage. And I can understand why his natural skill set and his natural ability has been useful in terms of the way that we utilize and the way that we interpret our left back to play. And our left backs tend to require midfield tendencies. So it makes a lot of sense. But this is a player who, yeah, I think he was in the fold in terms of a squad player and would have probably been projected to have got Nathan Butler-Adeji minutes this season at the start of the season. But because of injuries and circumstances and because of his overall level of performance, man, he's just snatched the chain and made it his. And he's been amazing. He wasn't stuck. When you think about the City game, the first game of the season against City, which was in September and ended with a draw, and he was a sub, wasn't he? He was on the sides and he got involved in the altercation. He was part of the squads, but he wasn't really being utilized. And then soon after that, he just made his breakthrough and he's just looked so composed and so sure and so comfortable. And then he's another one that's just played with mentality, absolute top tier mentality. And again, you know, some of the highlight games of this season, the 5-1 against City in the reverse fixture, the audacity, you know, and people talk about him and being cocky and needing to be humble and all this bullshit, man. And no one was giving it any of that energy when actually he was on the end of verbal assault and verbal abuse by a seasoned and established pro who should know better. No one has been talking about Haaland being humble or needing to be humble, especially considering the season that he's had this season, which Haaland has had a down season. City have had a down season. Like, performance-wise, he's not been great. Like, no one's given any energy. All the energy is for the young black youth. And for me, man, that I take issue with that. But yeah, Miles Lewis Skelly has been amazing. Real Madrid, again, amazing. He's had a couple of wobbles. I think he's had 3 or 4 bad games this season, but he's played about 30 plus odd games. So you think, if he has like one down performance in every 10 games, that's what it averages out to be. That's actually all right. And his bad games haven't been bad. They've just been below his standards, if you really think about it. So yeah, he's another one. I think I read a metric where it said he's the only player to have started 20 plus league games this season and not been beaten by defender, to have no player dribble past him. And I think he's in the company of Virgil van Dijk and I can't remember who else, but like a title winning defender as well. So top season for the boy. he's going to go from strength to strength, lock down another contract with him, and on better terms. And yeah, he's made it very uncomfortable for a lot of guys. When you consider as well that we've had like 5 left backs on our books, and like he's the one no one was talking about at the start of the season, and like, you know, Tierney's not been able to get games. Calafiori, yeah, okay, cool, but he's been injured. Zinchenko's not really had a look in. You know, all of this other stuff, like it's been him. He's been the man. He's been the man. So yeah, for me, he's clear winner of this category.
Yeah, 100%. I don't really have anything else to add there. I think Miles is, you know, for us clued in at TG, we knew what he was on. We knew what him and Ethan was on. And I'll give Ethan a little prop here because obviously he's probably not going to get mentioned in any of the categories, but 10 goals for him this season, some absolute corkers. So yeah, I just think the Haaland guys have really, they've really shown out. And you know, to have Saka, Ethan, and Miles in the space of like 5-6 years, and we know Max is coming as well. It's a real props to the academy. But yeah, Miles himself, top. And obviously he's making his apprenticeship way through, inverting at left back. But I can't wait till he actually gets into midfield and people can really see what he's on. So yeah, he has been top. He has been top. Final category before we go into some listeners' questions. Straightforward, simple. Favorite goal of the season, and it's there's actually quite a few that I like. So I'm actually there's quite a few that I like, but you can't look past Declan Rice's second free kick against Real Madrid because that is the most, probably pound for pound, that might be the best goal I've seen at the Emirates. Not just based on the strike, based on the occasion, based on when it happened, the momentum of the game at the time, the atmosphere behind it. I don't know if you can top that. There aren't many moments that can top that. Do you know what I mean? Like some people would say it might even be on par in terms of equaling the Arshavin thing against Barcelona. But in terms of this goal was elite, and it's sad because there's a lot of other goals I liked. So I'm gonna give props to a couple. Bukayo Saka's one at home to Liverpool. Remember the Ben White over the top ball?
Yeah.
Saka cut, first touch, boom, inside, sits Robertson down, bam. Yeah. Bad boy goal. A goal that probably Liverpool score a lot more than someone like us do, that I'd like to see us score more. Very direct, you know, give credit to that goal. There, I could name about 3 Ethan goals. I could name the one away to Girona in the Champions League. First Champions League start, by the way, bags that, away to Girona. There was the one away to Preston in the League Cup. I mean, these things are all the same goal. And then the one at home to Man City in the 5-1 as well.
Yeah.
Bad boy goal. There were a couple other Declan Rice ones as well. I think, like I said, the Palace, Newcastle, really good strikes. So yeah, there's been some. Oh, how could I even forget Calafiori away to City?
I was waiting because that was the one. That for me was the one that I was going to name. Calafiori's goal against.
And by the way, sorry, this is favorite goal. It's not best. So if that's your favorite, no one can argue with that. That is up there as well. That's a bad boy goal.
Calafiori's is up there. My favorite might have been Miles Lewis Skelly's goal against City.
Okay.
First goal, because it's not a spectacular goal, but it's his courage to be in that position on the pitch and to say, I'm going to cut inside on my right foot and tuck this. And he did. Yeah. And then the celebration and the noise that followed the celebration for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. That for me was just top. That just oozed so much cheekiness and have it, and you know, just bragging rights, and give it to them. So that is one of my favorite goals. The Merino goal against Real Madrid.
Oh, what a goal!
It was an inconsequential goal. Maybe it wasn't inconsequential if you think about the aggregate score, but on the night, the third goal, that was a really good take. I think underrated, really good take, but I really like that goal. Calafiori, I think, has scored a couple of goals this season where you say, this guy's ridiculous, man. This guy is ridiculous. In terms of his ball striking, he's ridiculous. And Ethan as well, man. Ethan's goals. I think Ethan's got a trademark goal.
Oh! There's another one that we've both forgotten. Do you remember, I think it was just after the November internationals, we were at home to Nottingham Forest and Saka scored a banger. Remember, he receives it, like Erdegaard touches it. He's just taking little touches in the box. Zero backlift, rockets it, roof of the net.
Yeah.
That one.
Actually, fair enough. Yeah, man.
What else?
I think this one we got to put to a vote as well because there's so many.
Do you know what? Maybe we'll do that as a poll tomorrow. What's been your favorite goal of the season? Because there's been a few. And I would, I think. But yeah, pound for pound, I think the best one is definitely Rice's second one against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not also give an ode to the first one, which was ridiculous as well. But obviously, it will get overshadowed by the second one. So that was it. So those were the 6 categories that we've covered. We do have quite a few listeners' questions to round off, so we might not get through all of them, but let's take it one by one. First one from JK_Muku says, what does Ethan Nwaneri need to master to go up to the next level? For me, I think for Ethan, it's more he might be maturing just a tad behind Miles, but the talent level, in my opinion, is the exact same. But I think Miles probably has, the endurance, the stamina, is probably a bit better than Ethan at the moment. So that's where Ethan, I think, needs to catch up. If he's playing on the right wing as well, maybe improve some conditioning, work on how he moves off the ball, because he's very much a ball to feet centric player, which is normal because I think he's more a pocket player. I know we were having a debate in the group chat: is he a midfielder? Is he a forward? I think at the moment at 18, he can play in both. He started the last game of the season against Southampton at right 8, not on the right wing. So I think Arteta is still feeling him out in both positions, which I think is the right thing to be doing with Ethan at the moment. So I think for me, it's just continue playing, continue adapting, but definitely improve the physical side. And knowing where to stand, I think sometimes so you're in a good position to receive, but the talent is not in question. So I think it's just a case of games with Ethan. Just continue to play.
Yeah, I think it's physicality and mentality a tiny bit. Physicality is being able to see whole games through. So it's stamina and endurance to cope with the demands of football games for 90 minutes, because he's absolutely amazing. But at this level so far, he hasn't looked like he's looked tired in moments. And I think, look, that comes with match practice. I think he's not been, he's had these opportunities, but he's not been used to the extent that Miles has. So maybe their starting points as engines have been different. But yeah, I think that's one tiny improvement that he could make. And when I say mentality, it's not that he doesn't have the right mentality, but I think there's a personality that is required. And I think Ethan, for me, has that personality in moments in attack. But there are moments as well during the game where I think he's good enough and he has the ability to go and receive the ball, to give and go, to collect, to become a bit more involved in build-up and in consolidation. And maybe, again, it's an instruction thing, but for me, he doesn't look like, he doesn't look like he's as involved as Saka is when Saka plays right wing. So for me, it's not if we're talking about systems and functions, when Saka's playing there, these are things that Saka does. So I'm not having an unrealistic expectation of him by saying if he's standing in for Saka, he should be able to do these things. I think it's just personality. I think he demonstrates the personality higher up the pitch when we're in attack. And maybe that's a bit of a fear of, losing the ball or getting something wrong or making a mistake or whatnot. But for me, he has to continue to play without that fear, because he's trusted, man. Like, you can see from the players around him, the established first teamers, that they trust him, they rate him. You know, they trust him to give him the ball in situations, and he's got the ability to handle the ball in situations as well. So yeah, that's just what I want to see from him, really.
Yep. Tola_M_91 says, what youngster were you certain would make the first team but ended up dropping down the leagues? I was so certain we had a Yaya Toure regen in Chuksaniki. That's a good one. That is a very, very good one. I did think Chuba Akpom was good, you know, because I remember just before Chuba Akpom, there was Benica Fobe as well. They were both good, but I thought Chuba Akpom was going to be it. I remember Rosicki bigging him up a lot, but just unfortunately he wasn't good enough to make the grade. But that happens, man. I'd say he didn't necessarily drop down the league because he went abroad, and he's not really a Haylender. But I did think Carlos Vela was going to make it at one point. You know, I always rated the tech, always rated the finishing ability. Thought he was a silky smooth player, but just never really did it when he played outside of the cups, did he? So yeah, it was. He had a decent stint in La Liga, right, with Sociedad, didn't he? So but yeah, and I think there was talent there, man. I still think there was talent to this day, but it just goes to show it's not always talent that is the reason for you making it. So the application potentially wasn't there. Maybe was just, you know, didn't apply himself hard enough. So that was a shame. So those are a couple. What about you?
Yeah, Patino, man, Charlie Patino. Charlie Patino.
But do you know what though? Do you know what? Because I'm with you on. I thought I was with you on Patino until I saw Miles and Ethan, and I'm seeing Max now. They look like at the time Patino looked crazy, but these man make Patino look normal.
Yeah, no,
so normal.
Patino is no, and for what these men are showing, for where Patino is right now, it's appropriate. But the question is, who did you think was going to make it? And I thought Patino was a Jack regen.
No, you know what he should have been? He should have been like our Adam Wharton. That's what he thought he could have been.
He should have been those kind of vibes, because Patino, technically, Patino looked comfy. And that's what it is. But like you said, this is exactly it. It's not just about your ability. There's other things, and there are some of the most teched out players will not make it. And they won't make it in the Prem. They won't make it at the top level because it's other things that are missing. You know, you absolutely need the physicality. When remember when we watched Patino, when we done loan watch and we watched Patino on loan at where was he, Blackpool, or we was watching some Haram ball, man. The ball was in the air like it's the NBA playoff finals, bro. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. And he didn't look like he could cope with the physicality. That's what it is. So it's three sides, man. It's like the pyramid of player development, man. You've got your technique, your technical ability, your physical ability, and your mental ability. And you need a combination of luck, skill, timing, ability, coach to take a chance on you, a coach to persist in you and have faith in you, you know, a clear pathway. And, you know, just the stars really have to align for some, and it just couldn't align. It just was not going to align for him here. But yeah, for where we see Max, Miles, Ethan right now, it's, yeah, man, their level. The football is different as well. That Patino was like 5 years ago. In this 5-year cycle, this wave of footballers is insane. If you look at Rio Nguma at Liverpool, look at the athletes, look at the youths that are coming out of Aston Villa Academy, look at the youths that are coming out of West Ham Academy, look at the physicality of the Man City youths. You know, they're just insane. They're
this next gen, they look crazy,
insane.
Crazy. Like, and obviously, I'm sure we don't need to have a section on him now because I'm sure there's going to be loads of section on him in the future. But Max Dowman looks flipping crazy. Like the kid looks absolute, like to the point where when they were saying initially that he might be better than Max, Miles and Ethan, I was like, oh, I really. But I'm watching this kid. I'm like, this kid is a joke. This kid is
Ridiculous.
absolutely diabolical. You know,
Ridiculous.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and even look at the striker. Look at the striker for England, the under
Alejandro,
17s.
yeah, yeah. He
Look at
looks, he
well,
looks
look at the body. Went to German dad. Look at
look
the
at the
body.
body.
Look at the body. He doesn't look like a 16, 17-year-old,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. It's
They
crazy.
said
It's
this
crazy.
Alejandro guy is some Portuguese dom
Yeah.
representing England, playing for
Yeah,
Southampton.
because I saw the
It's
training
crazy.
pics and like Max is already taller than Ethan and Miles at 15. I'm like, insane, insane,
Crazy,
insane,
man.
insane. But yeah, they will have their time, I'm sure. Tondre One says Arsenal for the first time in 100 years have gone for a season with no player recording 10 plus league goals. Who should be sent to the gallows for this? Mikel Edu or the Cronkies? All of them, bro. All of them. All of them need to be flogged to high heaven. Obviously, I know had injuries not happened, Havertz and Saka would have done it, but nasty work, bro. It's nasty,
Yeah,
nasty work, bro. It's disgusting. What I've seen this season offensively has been nothing short of nasty, and I'm not trying to see that next season. So they have to make sure they readdress the balance. And we'll see. We'll see. I don't really want to get onto names about stuff like that today because we've spoken a lot about Sesko, Gyökeres, some of the wingers, and we'll be doing scouting pieces on those guys. So we won't get in too tough. Shabs Tibbs 11 says every Arsenal fan knows Teta has to deliver next season. My question is, will an FA Cup cut it, assuming we finish second again, or is it strictly Prem or Champions League to save his job? So for me, yes, it is strictly Prem or Champions League, unless he does a Mazine in the Prem. Like say he got like 92, 93 points and didn't win. I can hold my hands up then and be like, we have been almost perfect in the league and we've not won it. That's very different. Do you get? But if I'm seeing like a what we got this season, like 74. If I'm seeing like a 80, 82, and do you know what I mean? Like if Arsenal get 93 points and don't win the league, I can sort of take a step back and be like, bro, whoever won the league has been virtually flawless and they've done nothing wrong. So it would have to be something exceptional um, for me to allow it. So yeah, next season I'll just put it out there. For me, unless something's delivered crazy, he has to go. Unless there are mad extenuating circumstances, in which case we can review.
yeah, yeah. It's the same for me. He's leaving him. He's eradicating his buffer stock. He's getting rid of his buffer stock very quickly by some of the decisions, some of the inaction that's happened. Yes, sure, we can chalk this season up to being unfortunate, injuries, PGMOL, all of that stuff there, but it's part and parcel, man. And you have to you have to plan. You have to plan for this stuff, and I think it's unforgivable for leaving powder dry this season. So for me, the more he's failed to deliver upon his ultimate promise, the more pressure there is from fans, the less patient fans are being and becoming. And some of the frustrations as well are around his persistence with certain players, his choice of certain players, his reluctance to allow certain players to move on, his keenness to keep certain players who we think the project has moved past, the project has moved beyond. So ultimately, he is going to be judged on his league. He's going to be judged on his performances in major competitions. In my eyes, the two major competitions are the league and the Champions League. The FA Cup is a major trophy, absolutely, but and so is the EFL Cup. And I would like to win one, if not both, of those cups, regardless. Just because I just think we can't we can't turn our nose down at winning silverware. Especially this team. This team needs to win. This team needs to win something together. And people downplay and kind of pick and choose, the EFL Cup, it doesn't matter, and blah, 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 blah. It absolutely does matter. This team needs to get a sniff and a semblance of winning something together, because that is what I think is going to be the catalyst for pushing them on to go and win more. And we saw it with Liverpool at the beginning of their serial run. They won an EFL Cup and people just poo-pooed it and whatnot, but we then saw them win everything after that. Everything moving after that, we saw them win. So it worked for them. So we need it to work for us. So I don't think we can be choosers, but ultimately his performances have to be judged by what he does in the league and what he does in Europe. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree too tough there. Yeah, Shabs, I think we'll leave it there. We've been going for over an hour now. Listeners, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the season awards. We will probably end up doing a season review at some point, and then we will also follow that up with all of these TG Patreon scouting pieces. So as links hot up, we will be hot off the press, either reacting to it, commenting on it, or dropping a video, one of the White Scout videos analyzing it. So yes, be on the lookout. Hopefully it's a good summer for us. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Listeners, peace. Shabs, thank you for joining me. We'll catch you on the flip side. Easy.
Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.